No worries, guys. It's not Monday. It's just what's in my little tiny roster. But anyways, I we ended our like regular book, so I'm on to more yandere books because I'm trying to look for long ones again. So yeah, these are just yandere books until I can find some really good ones. So yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy. I've been thinking perhaps the reason Arie keeps acting out is because she needs a more permanent caretaker. What do you mean by that, Overhaul? I mean the caretakers I assigned were always mess up, and let her slip out of sight, and I always end up having to get my hands dirty, Overhaul explained. I'm thinking that maybe if Arie had someone here to comfort her, if she had someone here to return to, if Arie had a mother figure in her life, perhaps she wouldn't run away. That was the conversation that decided your fate. Before you before they took you away, you were a mostly normal person trying to live a normal life. Well, mostly. You were 23 years old, living in a two-bedroom apartment. You had white hair and and two long horns protruding from your forehead. Your mother's quirk was dragon, which granted you your extra strength, wings, horns, and a tail, and the ability to breathe fire. Your father's quirk was blizzard, which allowed him to shoot snow from his hands and control its tranquility. Spelled tranquility. I think it's supposed to say transcusity or something like that. Your elder brother, Arie, I think that's how you say it, got the stronger combination of your parents' quirks. Ice breath, which allowed him to blow air so cold that could immediately freeze anything. You, however, all you could do was shoot blasts of normally cold air from your hands. Even though you had weaker power and weren't able to become a hero like your mom and Tatsuri, you were happy with your life. So basically, you don't have mom's cool quirk. Sorry. You liked your quiet life, living alone in the city. Nobody around to bother you, and nobody to ask. Hey Yin, could you please turn down your emo music? Nobody to say. What? No, you can't just eat the whole cake, Yin. Nobody to interrupt you while you're playing video games or watching anime. For the most part, you had a good life. Plus, the fact that your hair was white allowed you to dye it whatever color you wanted without having to use bleach first. Usually, you went with hair colored or your favorite color. Your white hair and large horns made Overall think you would be the perfect potential mother figure for Arie. One night, while you were walking back home from a restaurant, you were grabbed into an alleyway by a mysterious man in a white hood and plague doctor mask. He stabbed something into your neck, and you were quickly sedated. When you woke up, you were tied to a chair in sort of a basement. You stared quietly, panicking, trying not to scream or cry, but you were definitely scared. And then he entered the room. I see. You're awake, he said. Apologies for earlier. It was my only option. You seemed to be a smart person, so I knew there was no way you would agree to come with me willingly. Who are you? And where am I? You demanded. My, how impatient. We'll get to that, my dear. For now, let's talk about you, he said, sitting down in a chair dejected to the one you were tied to. Who are you? I don't have to tell you anything about me. Oh, I'm so sorry. I turned away so it wouldn't be so loud. You angrily said, sorry about that again. You're doing this the hard way, He sighed. Hey, Nieto, get in here. He yelled towards the doorway, taunting you with an idea of escaping. Someone who looked pretty much exactly like a plague doctor, who you assumed was Nieto, walked in the room. What is it, boss? I need her to tell me about herself. You know what to do, right? Yes. Nieto walked closer to you and the man sitting across from you. You? What's your name? He asked. You think I'll answer to that? Is that what you wanted to say? For some reason. My name is Yinlin. The moment you said that, you tried to cover your mouth with your hands, but you couldn't because you were, as previously mentioned, you were tied up to a chair. Yin, how interesting. The man across from you said, I can tell from the faded dye that favorite color is not your hair color. Tell me, what is your natural hair color? You heard him. Naruto said, what's your natural favorite color? It's white, he truthfully responded. Perfect. With that and the horns, you'll be perfect candidate. The man sitting across from you said, standing up and taking off one of his white gloves. I'll introduce myself to you later. For now, though, we need to fix that faded hair dye problem. He reached toward your face. This will fix the problem. The moment he touched your face, you died. The next second, though, you were brought back to life. While you were processing the fact that you temporarily died, you began talking again. And just like that, the dye problem is solved, he said, slipping the glove back on his left hand. You asked my name earlier, right? You can just call me Overhaul. When I said that earlier, I meant your real name, you said. You were untied and led to a bedroom. Now, I didn't take you without a reason, Yin. Overhaul begins. I have a young girl in my care, Arie. She's very important to me and my research, but she keeps running away, and that's where you come in. I was thinking that maybe if she had someone here to care for her, she would not run away so much. Overhaul opened the door, and curved, curling in the bed with a small girl with messy white hair and a small horn. Arie, this is your mother, Yin. Wait, what? Overhaul shoved you into the girl's bedroom, and closed the door. Overhaul thought that Arie having someone in her life could comfort her while preventing her from escape. He would have been more wrong. Maybe if he had chosen someone else, he would have been right. But you really hated it when people forced you to do things you didn't want. You wanted to escape as well. All right, Arie. Hang on tight, he said to her. She was sitting on his shoulders, holding on to your horns tightly as she feet herself from the falling off. This is actually cute. This situation you're in and your desire to escape led you to realize something about your quirk. You can create blasts of cold air from your hands. If you just point your hands behind you and create blasts of air repeatedly, you could technically lightly propel yourself forwards. That's exactly what you were doing. You were going to use your power to advantage and fly you and Arie right out the front door of this base. Was this a bad plan? Yep. Would it work? Probably not. Were you going to do it anyways? Oh, absolutely. Surprising enough, your plan worked. After you and Arie were out of the front doors and gates of the base, you ran and didn't look back. You ran as far as you could with Arie on your shoulders. Especially you two reached a city and planned to blend into the sea of people. You two walked through the crowd, thinking that you successfully escaped. And then you heard all too familiar voice from behind you. Oh, there you are, Yin. You knew it only makes things worse for you if you continued running, so you especially turned around. There was Overhaul. He was standing there, not in his usual getup. He was wearing a suit and black tie, medical mask, rather than the swaggered plague mask you were used to. And it seems you found Arie. That's good. He reached up and placed his gloved hands on Arie's cheeks. Arie, you little rascal, you can't just run off on your own like that. You know, you could get hurt. Yeah, lucky I found her, you nervously said, going along with whatever his story was making up. It would probably end bad for you, Arie, and the crowd of people you were in if you didn't. Anyways, my dear, I found the restaurant we were looking for. It's just this way. He turned around, beckoning you to follow. Overhaul led you to a restaurant nearby, and before you entered, he whispered something to you and Arie. You two, please be sure to behave yourselves and play along. We wouldn't want people finding out what's really going on, would we? And you played along with Overhaul's story. According to that story of his, you and him were a recently happily married couple, and Arie was your daughter. You three played it out a scenario where this was nothing more than a nice family dinner. After all, like he said, we don't want any of the civilians finding out the truth. After that, he brought you back to the base. Took off his gloves, sighing in disappointment. What will I ever do with you two? He asked. Make sure you never do that again. Yes, Overhaul, he nervously said. Well, you clearly understood that I don't want you doing that. You two will never learn without consequences, he said, touching you. I'll just paralyze you for a little, at least until you learn your lesson. Arie already knows not to run. The last thing you heard was Overhaul whispering to you. Good night, my dear.